a whole family. The family it's like something that is so very
Okay, simply aware the connected. Good morning, friends, and welcome to the Spiritual Side of Virginia. So good to be with all of you here together today. I'm going to read together a message from the book, Spiritual Manual to the Mediumship of Chico Xavier. And the message for all of us today is message number 15, Thoughts. As for the rest, my brothers, everything that is true, everything that is honest, everything that is just, everything that is pure, everything that is lovely, everything that is admirable, if it is anything virtuous and praiseworthy, think on this. Job chapter 4, verse for humans in their of human thoughts. For yes, the evil and the good, the beautiful, lived in the mental fount, produce them in the ongoing activities of life. The gospel lays out the generous course for the human mind to renew itself on the paths of higher spirituality, proclaiming the need for such a transformation on the way to the higher realms. It is not only with intellectual fine points of philosophy that disciples will begin their efforts to accomplish this goal. Renewing one's thoughts is not as easy as it may appear. It demands a large capacity for self denial and profound self control, qualities that humans cannot achieve without work and heartfelt sacrifice. Thus, many servants of Christ just change the words they use, believing that they have reformed their lives. However, in accumulating retentive experiences, when circumstances repeat themselves, they once again encounter the same troubles as before, because obstacles and darkness have remained in their mind like hidden phantoms. To think is to create. The manifestation of this creation may not play itself out at once in the arena of transitory effects. The object formed by the mind lives in the inner world, demanding spiritual attention for the net of continuity and extinction. Whose advice to the Philippians displays sublime content. Disciples who are able to comprehend his profound essence, who heed in each and every day the trying to see the true, just, pure, and lovely side of all things, will have discovered the divine. Right, friends, so let us all unite our thoughts and feelings in prayer. Dear God, we're deeply thankful that you gave us permission to be here in this sacred space where your beloved messengers of the beyond have prepared the optimal environment for us to be treated, to address the wounds of the soul, to fortify our minds, and to give us new tools to fulfill your loving will on earth. We cannot begin these moments of deep education and therapy for our souls
without thinking of those who had to stay home because they were ill. We pray for them, visualizing much love enveloping them. We pray also for those who have their names in the book of prayer. May everyone, past and present, in the book of prayer, who have their names in there, receive the visit of your loving messengers, bringing remedies and solutions to their lives. And we pray especially for our nation, a nation that has a beautiful destiny, but is in great need of you to lead us into safe direction. May we humble ourselves to your designs and worship you above anything else. We see bridges of friendship from the United States to every nation in the world, so it can fulfill your loving will. We ask for your guidance. We feel your protection as you kindly grant us the permission to begin our session this morning, and so be it. All right. It's so interesting, friends. We plan the calendar of the year is done the year before, believe it or not. We don't have time to plan on the go. So everything you see, the topics, they were planned last year. And then when they come, people are like, oh my gosh, it matches. Believe it. If something matches, it comes from above. Today we're going to learn about how small choices bring great consequences in our everyday lives. Remember, if you kids, teens, ask your parents, how did you get together? Hmm? It was just a look, right? A text, a word. That's how it began, very small. And look at us, family. So everything begins with small choices. We cannot take them for granted. We need to pay attention. Because if we want to be happy, it depends on our small choice today. All right? Inside, more miracles of Jesus, huh? For the little ones and for the teens. We're going to learn about a major person, Spiritus. You guys are going to build the Instagram account, that personality. It's on computers, and you're going to rejoice. Meanwhile, we hope that during the session, we can make the most of it. Let us recall that during this time here, the good spirits, the spirit doctors, they are going around. It's not only at the passes, it's throughout the session. They go around. At every chair, there are equipments in the spiritual realm doing true surgeries on us, operating upon our energy body, our perispirit, helping us as long as we are interested in. Okay? So let us join forces and maximize the game. Shall we? Meanwhile, Daisy's gonna be here. Karen and I will be, right? Let's go. Let's go. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Another class. Come on, sit this. Sit on your chair. You're gonna sit in your chair. Sit in your chair. Think. Please, please, let's see. It is so. Stitches.
Good morning, dear friends. So today here, all of us together, we are going to learn with Humberto de Campos again how those small choices in our day-to-day lives change our lives completely. We think to change our lives, we need big gestures. We need to go to another country. We need to do a retreat. We need to turn everything around. But how do we turn everything around? Starts with one small step, as we will see today. And that small step can be for the good or can completely change the course of our lives. And that is exactly how we're going to start today. An account from this book, Estante da Vida, or Bookshelf of Life. It's not yet translated the whole book in English, but we have the opportunity to study this specific message in this book. Remember, we've been studying Humberto de Campos, right? We're going to study him throughout the year. But for those that don't know, he was born in Brazil in 1886. He was a very well-known journalist. He wasn't a spiritist when he was incarnated. The contrary, he was here incarnated at the time that Chico Xavier was already beginning its works. When he was already later in his life, he discarnated in 1934. Chico was already psychographed in many books. And he got to know about Chico Xavier. He was like, what is that? You know, he didn't give much care. He actually pushed it aside. But we know that later on, before he discarnated, he got very sick. We don't know details, but we know that something inside changed him to the point that he discarnates, and very quickly in the spiritual realm, he wakes up and he realized that, writing. And nowadays, all of us, we don't need to be journalists. We are every day we can influence people with our writing, with our social media posts, right? With things that sometimes a note that we leave at home. But he realized that he had been using his writing, but to bring not the best in others. And he wanted to change that. He wants to share with all of us real accounts from the spiritual realm to help us here. He says in the book Good News that he's not writing to entertain anymore, but he knows he's writing to educate, to help us. So much so that he enrolls himself in the School of the Gospel. There's a School of the Gospel in the spiritual realm. He gets to know more about the stories of Jesus. And because of him, we're so grateful. We have these books like Good News and so many others that brings us real accounts of Jesus' lives here. So if you're interested, read more about him because it's very interesting to the point that he was so well known that when his family got to know that he was psychographing through Chico Xavier, they started to, at first they were skeptical, and then they started to see the style, and then they wants to claim rights to the point that he had to change his pen name. So if you see books that says Brother X, that is Humberto de Campos. Okay, so we're so thankful to him. So let us go to this message. It's a video. Let us hear the story, and then we're gonna talk more about it. Okay. Thank you.
This is a true story.
registered by Brother X, the famous author of the book Hurt News. While in the spiritual realm, he encountered a young man who recently discarnated.
Dear brother, I know you are suffering in the valley of suicides. We are here to help you. Tell us what you would like to say. When we share our feelings and thoughts, we may more easily find the help that we need.
You know, I was a victim of drinking in the world. It all started at a party. I remember an innocent invitation, just a joke. A friend approached me with a bottle of alcohol. Then the friendly summons saying to me, "A drink, just a drink." I refused it. I wasn't used to it. Around us, the apparent joy of those who drink, just appearance. So you mock the sarcastic companion. So you're one of those, a pussy, a mama's boy. What are you doing in pants? I didn't know that accepting a challenge like that was dangerous for me. The others were drinking and laughing. I ended up joining in. I swallowed a mouthful of a drink, then another and another one. Then a dizzy head and the gushing pleasure. The next day, the need for a drink. And from the drinks, I got into addicted drunkenness. I used to work well, but soon I began to deteriorate at the job. Mistakes, absences, drunkenness, hangovers. Once my daily chores were over, I used to leave home for the bar, and the situation was always shameful, night after night. Friends carrying me back home, and at the door, the tired mother waiting for me. Constantly the same sweet voice insisting and blessing. My son, don't drink. Don't drink anymore. My negative reaction never failed. I raged, threatened, squeezing her trembling arms. In the immediate morning, the remorse and promises of correction and readjustment. When night came, however, there were new episodes of drinking until the last drop and nonsense. On several occasions, when I woke up, I would find broken plates and glasses and the strange information that I was the culprit. I had been in a dreadful hallucination, perpetrating madness. I got upset, I regretted it. But the thirst for alcohol was always stronger. Unfortunate occurrences overlapped one another, until one day I woke up in jail. Prison. I was horrified by the guard's answer. "You are a murderer." Me? A murderer? And he, "Yes, you drunkard, you killed." I sobbed, crushed with suffering. My chest seemed to burst, and I screamed, my God, what will become of my mother?" Then came the terrible revelation. Was she herself who you destroyed? Your mother, your victim? I didn't believe it. I asked for proof. Taken to the residence in the custody of some soldiers, I could still see her corpse in the coffin. There were signs of strangulation in her throat. Around us, the witnesses, those who had seen me up close with my fingers nailed into my mother's flesh in a moment of insanity. I knelt down and screamed in vain. Taken to jail, positively demented, I waited until night fell. Taking advantage of some strips of a blanket, I hung myself. Since then, I've been a rag that lives, a wound that thinks. My sad story can be of benefit to someone. Tell it to others, to those who find themselves on the earthly path, root of invigilance or despair.
Listening to this young man's account, I decided to write it down right here.
Found is in the book Estante de Vida, Shelf of Life, Chapter 20. The author is Brother X, or Humberto de Campos, through the mediumship of Chico Xavier.
So, as Vanessa said, is interesting because we had this topic on the calendar since the beginning of the year. And what is this weekend, especially for us who are from Brazil? Carnival, right? Yes, yes. exactly. As we speak, it's Carnival in Brazil. And this is shocking, right? Shocking the kids. This is everyday lives. We think this is all is just another story. No, this is a real account. And it happens every day. As we'll see, as a public health professional myself, we need to talk about this because this is very serious. Drinking nowadays is seen in our society as something, you know, part of everything. You talk with people and everything needs to include barbecues, from work meetings, from family gatherings. How many times I have heard myself through friends saying, oh, that event or that wedding, oh, it doesn't have alcohol. Oh my gosh. It's like they gonna die. It's interesting, right? How we lost touch with people and we need to numb ourselves to be able to interact with people. People say that, oh, I need alcohol to relax. But we have enough research and enough data. So let us start with what we know in science first before we go to the spiritual substance. Okay. So alcohol is a drug. It is a drug. In Bethesda, there is the National Institutes of Health, and there is the National Institute for Alcohol Abuse and Alcoholism. So it's so much a drug that it has a specific center that dedicates its research for it. And as you can see in this picture, and if you look it up online, alcohol actually affects most of our organs. This is a summary. But we're going to bring a few. First, we know it affects the liver, right? From producing fatty cells to all the way to cirrhosis, it really affects the liver. Alcohol in research is used to dehydrate cells. So if you want to break the membranes of a cell, you add alcohol to the solution to do that. So every time we ingest it, that's what it's doing to our body. It's dehydrating our cells and consequently also affects. So alcohol is linked to heart diseases, to strokes. And then we might be thinking, oh, Daisy, but those are extreme cases. You're talking about people who are alcoholic. True. Go to the Centers of Disease Control and Prevention in Atlanta, CDC. Moderate drinking is considered 1 cup per day. 1 cup. If you think, oh, it's that 1 cup. I need my wine at the end of the day, but it's just a cup. I'm not an alcoholic. You can stop at any time. Oh, but the day we don't drink that 1 cup, say, oh, I'm not the same. What else? Alcohol increases our chances or risk of cancer. Very recently, in January, last 2 months ago, the previous US General Surgeon of the United States put out a warning saying that alcoholic drinks should have warnings like packs of cigarette saying that alcohol increases our cancers of risk. It's already proven from throat cancer to esophagus cancers to liver cancer and many other types of cancer. Alcohol truly affects our risk of cancer, so much so that he said, and he called out decision makers in the United States to pass regulations and laws to be stricter and to have warnings for people. We know that alcohol also affects our brain. It does because alcohol is a depressant and it goes straight to the brain. And how many people they think they drink alcohol to feel good, but it actually makes them feel more depressed because it goes straight to the brain and affects our not only how we feel about ourselves, but it affects how we then become develops to addictions, to dependence, and affects our judgment. It impairs our judgment. It increases the risk of injuries. If you look at the statistics, fatal car accidents, 30% of them are linked to alcohol. One third of fatal car accidents. So we have enough. This is just, we can go much deeper. We can spend hours and show you scientific studies. But then people might say, but Daisy, I read that alcohol, drinking a glass of wine a day helps my heart. Yes, there are studies out there. But we need to, with everything, benefits, the gain and the losses. And there is enough research that shows us that the consequences of alcohol are so much so that they outweigh tremendously the quote unquote what people call benefits, which we'll see with more research coming out. So we think, oh, it's just one drink once in a while. But remember, friends, it's a drug. We go to the doctor. So interesting, right? Because we think because it's a legal drug, it's okay. We go to the doctor and they ask, do you smoke? Do you use drugs? Do you drink? Right? So why would they be asking you? Yes, right? If it wasn't because it is something that truly affects our physical bodies. We already have enough research. But it doesn't stop there because it influences our way to make decisions, that it affects our society as a whole. This is numbers, there's just data to show there's already enough proven out there. If you look at homicides, alcohol is a factor in about 40% of homicides in the US alone. So out of 10 homicides, in 4 of them, alcohol was somehow involved. So the same way that people say, I need alcohol to interact with others to feel good, people use alcohol to have the quote unquote courage that they need to do what they have to do. And we're going to see shortly that we're not alone. We're not alone because there's a lot of spiritual influence. But these are hard facts and data. How about sexual assaults? Nearly 50% of sexual assaults, either the victim, the perpetrator, or both had been drinking. Especially for our teens, this is so important for us to talk to our teens and preteens. Because as we saw in the case by Humberto de Campos, it started with one drink. And then how many cases we get to know that the victim and the perpetrator said, oh, but I had consent. The person, were they lucid making, quote unquote, that decision, which we know, right? So this changed our lives. One drink, as in the case by Humberto de Campos, started very innocent. Oh, you're a pussy. How are you? And then to fit in, we give in. and it changed our lives forever. In families, it's so tragic. It is so sad. Studies have shown, scientific studies, that more than 50% of divorces cite alcohol abuse as a contributing factor. This is shocking, friends. It's shocking to see, and thanks to the previous Surgeon General, people are starting, hopefully, to speak up about this because, again, we think it's a quote unquote legal drug, but it's destroying families. How many cases? I'm sure everyone in this room can cite a case within our families, if not our own family, where alcohol has destroyed our family's dynamics.
Say something.
Yes, Paula.
And what I noticed with that sometimes the family is destroyed by the alcohol, but the sons and daughters who are affected continue the same. You know what I mean? Like they don't realize that the alcohol was
It's a cycle. Yes. Yeah. Yes. In the book Thought and Life by Emmanuel describes exactly that. That the way we educate our children, we think it's through words and act, but they say that our actions speak more than our words because we imprint. So interesting because he used that word imprinting our children. So our children, they're there, they're watching, and they think, oh yeah, I remember my dad or my mom drinking, from early ages. And then they grew up, they think that is natural. And exactly to that point, so much so it affects families that alcohol is involved in about 40% of child abuse and affects the emotional development of children. So we think our choices are just affecting ourselves, but it's affecting our family as well. And we see, as Paula mentioned, the consequences as cascading events, right? And we see children of alcoholic parents becoming alcoholic themselves. And it's a very hard and difficult cycle. Why so hard? Because, so this is science, this is data, we already know enough. But thanks to Spiritism, we bring another level of awareness because now we know we're not alone. From the moment of the one choice, we're not alone. There's spiritual influence with us. Who are those? Are they high, elevated spirits who are connecting with us through that one drink? No. Because so much so that alcohol dependence carries over to the afterlife. We think we're gonna physically, our bodies will physically die. And people say, oh, it's an imbalance in my physical body, it's an addiction. No, it's a spiritual addiction because we carry that. It's not that our physical bodies will perish and all of a sudden all our vices and addictions will go away. We carry those through lifetimes. So where do we think those spirits, who, as we saw in the previous slides, were the perpetrators of homicides, suicides, who were alcoholic, who died because of alcoholic behaviors? What happens? Do they go straight to the solar and they are there in the hospital being, we wish, right? Every week, friends, almost every week in the mediumistic meetings, spirits are rescued because they were connected to what people in China know, to all of us. who are, and they are so upset because they say, what you guys are teaching here, now I cannot make the connections that I need. And one of those is through alcohol and all other drugs, right? We're talking of alcohol because it is the case of today. So yes, they connect with us because they still need that sensation. They still need the sensation to feel. So alcohol is related to spiritual obsession and we have many cases, one of them very classic in the book Sex and Destiny. Go there in here. Claudio, like many of us, especially in Brazil, it's very common. People have the little bar in their homes, right? A little area. He gets home from work and he thinks, oh, I worked so hard, I had such a hard day, I deserve a break. We might not have the bars at home. Some do. Some think, okay, I will go to happy hours. Especially now we're getting to the summer and then people start, oh, happy hours, happy hours. Is it truly happy or disastrous hours? So Claudio gets home and then he's like, I have such a hard day. I will have a shot of my favorite drink, whiskey, or whatever it is. But is he by himself? No. André Luiz is there and he says, he has a spirit companion with him. It's with him because they like the same things. In his case, it's not even necessarily an obsession because the spirit that with him likes what he likes. He comes and whispers, yes, you had such a bad day. Go there, one drink, just one drink. And again, we think we are alone. We're not. Goes to the bar, has a drink. And then, interesting enough, André Luiz is there watching, so he's bringing us the other side, the spiritual view. And then he sees another spirit enters the room, friends with Claudia's quote unquote obsessor. And he says, oh, you start the party without me. I want a drink too. And then he goes there and whisper in Claudia's ears, oh, come on, you deserve it. Have another drink. And then André says, and then he stands up from the couch, goes to the bar. There's another drink. So now we understand why people say, oh, I'm just going to have one glass. And then an hour later, they're like, oh my gosh, what happened? I drank the whole bottle. It's because we're not alone. We're spiritual company with us. In other books, the realms of mediumship, missionaries of the light, André Luiz shows the behind the scenes of these restaurants and bars. And that's why, friends, we need to pray a lot when we go to those. Because what type of spirits we think are hanging out there? We know that the high elevated spirits, what they do 24/7, they're helping others. Does that mean they're not going to be there to help? Yes. But they're not there just like hanging out. But this type of spirits, yeah, they're vaporizing spirits. And that's why people go to those places and feel so drained. In addition to what we saw alcohol does to the body, but we're being literally sucked because we're being instruments of this vampirizing spirits. And that's why it leads to obsessions. Because all we need is, in that case, that one drink. The spirit makes the connection. We're hooked. And that's why we see lives being destroyed, families being destroyed, because now we have literally a legion of spirits who are dependent on our behaviors and they don't want to free us. That's why in the mediumistic meetings, they are so upset because they say, oh, now people are making other choices. People are praying, they're not drinking, they're changing their lives, they're doing the good, and we don't have the hook anymore. So we cannot be naive. As we talked last week, Vanessa shared with us, some of them are allowed to come in, some of them are outside, and they're just waiting for us to leave. They're waiting for us to leave, and they will follow us home, and they will say, oh, you think you're so changed, right? Let us see. Right? And then the test comes throughout the week. But alcohol is also in spiritism, get to know that is a form of indirect suicide. Why? We are born with vitality. Imagine it's like a battery, right? When you put in the battery, it's full battery, right? We reincarnate, our battery is full. We have full vitality. Then, right, we start to grow up doing things. Right, it's normal, our vitality will go. So we mine our reincarnatory plan says, okay, we're gonna live until 90 years old. Great. So we have that vitality with us. We have free will. So what we drink, what we eat, how we exercise our bodies, etc., etc. But alcohol drains our system. We saw it. We already have enough data that explains us the dynamics in the physical bodies. So we're literally killing ourselves. And when we are decreasing that vitality, so instead of living up to 90, now we live to 85 because of our choices. We are literally considering direct suicides because we're killing ourselves indirectly. Lula Luis in the book Nosso Lar was shocked to know. He thought, oh, I'm such a good person. I'm a good man. I'm a doctor. I have a family, a wife, children. Through society, he was checking all the boxes. And then he discarnates and he finds himself living, literally in the lower zones, right? And then he realizes that people were calling him a suicide. He's like, I'm not a suicide. I didn't kill myself. And later on, he gets to know because of his choices. He drank, he had sexual addictions. So he was an indirect suicide because he could have had a much better and healthier life if it wasn't because of his choices. In the book, Memoirs of Suicide, if you want to learn more, that book is incredible. Don't be turned off because of the title, or it's a big book. It should be called the Book of Hope. That book is so beautiful because we feel directly connected to Mother Mary. In that book, we get to know that Mother Mary, Jesus' mother, after she discarnates, she dedicates her life, she dedicates herself to caring for those, especially those that go through suicide. And she has a whole colony and a whole hospital and institute of many throughout the spiritual realm, but is dedicating to helping those types of spirits. And there is a whole area dedicated to indirect suicidal spirits. So again, we think it's just one drink or one happy hour or one barbecue. But our one choice may take lifetimes for us to recover. And before we get to be in that beautiful institute and hospital, we read in that book the suffering that those spirits go through and the consequences. Why? Because it forms lesions in our perispirit. The facts that we show, does it stay only in the physical body? No, let us remember, huh? We are spirit. Think of it as interpol simple ways as a flame. Think of it as a flame. We're spirit. We are enveloped by a spiritual body we call the perispirit, which is semi-matter. So it's not 100% matter, it's semi-matter. It's to the perispirit that we are connected. Like three-dimensionally, we cannot even picture to the physical body. It's not that we're inside the physical bodies, the spirit's not inside the physical body. It is connected molecule by molecule. So everything that we do to our physical bodies is imprinted in our spiritual body. So when our physical body dies, our perispirit continues on. It carries everything, our memories and our choices from all our previous lives. So then we enter in alcoholic behaviors. We are not only affecting the health of our physical body, but forming lesions in our spiritual body. So we might say, oh, but I know someone, they drink their whole lives. They don't have none of those things that you mentioned there, Daisy. Yeah, in this life, because they couldn't handle. Those legions are imprinted in their perispirit. And then that's why people incarnate. We don't want to be simplistic because we don't know everyone's case, but then they have from early childhood cancers that we don't know. Or people say, well, I never smoked, but in this life I have lung cancer. Yeah, maybe in this life we didn't smoke. We don't know in previous lives. Oh, I have a throat cancer, whatever. But I have such a healthy lifestyle. But remember, we bring that with us. So it's gonna take lies for us. So when the disease comes, we learn in spiritism, we think the disease because it's already our body sponging it out, those energies that we don't need anymore. So if we want to learn more, there's much more we can talk about. We at the Spirit Society of Virginia develop a whole flyer. If you're interested, it has references. You can go there. We can share with you. Also, as we are in this weekend of Mardi Gras and Carnival, there's a whole issue of the Spirit magazine dedicated to it. Is issue 17. Go to the app. It's on our phones for free. There we will see and read more. There's a beautiful article by Divaldo Franco talking about social drinking. And there's a message by Emmanuel, psychographer Chico Xavier, that explains that the forces of darkness, they are very intelligent friends. So let us not subestimate them because they know very well. And they use those gatherings truly to not only vampirize people, but to do whole plots. And that message that is in the Spirit magazine, Emmanuel says that they take advantage of that party environment and then the choices that people make. He says a lifetime sometimes is not going to be enough for people to recover. And how many cases, right? We know people, homicides, suicides, unplanned pregnancies, right? That might lead to abortions and so many other things. And people are there partying, enjoying life, but the suffering go away? No, because the next day they had to go back to their works, to their families. So what did it do? We're numbing ourselves because we, at the end of the day, we don't want to face reality. So why are we talking about this? Because the message today for us is about those small choices. What seems to be small leads to big consequences in our lives. Everything in our lives starts with a small decision. Small decision. Think about a, let us go to the extreme. We're living at a times where there's so much conflict going on around the world. How did those conflicts started? Started with a small decision. Sometimes a word. And this happens in our day-to-day lives. We are there at a family gathering, and a word that we say to a family member. Oh wow, change the whole dinner or family reunion. Because the one word that families are destroyed, countries are destroyed, planets are destroyed, starts with a small choice. Or instead, have work with teams or have teams. Maybe it's not a word, but it's that roll in the eye. Go clean your room. And then we think, oh, they're just teams. Well, let us do that with your boss later, or sometimes with friends. Nowadays, unfortunately, for people to have a gun, it's a roll of their eyes. They're like, oh yeah, you're rolling your eyes to me, you see. Boom. And then our lives is destroyed through the one action. Is the one drink at a party was some so innocent. But everyone is drinking. They are not addicted. I'm not gonna be addicted. And look what was the outcome for that young man, to the point that he killed his own mother. And that's how a lot of addiction starts. The one drink, the one cigarette, the one drug, and then lives are changed. In the book, Missionaries of the Light, Andrea Lewis brings to us such an interesting case of a man who was just walking in the streets, minding his own business. You know, Rio de Janeiro, the beach. It doesn't need to be all that. Then he exchanged one look, quote unquote innocent look, with a girl, flirtatious look. And then he goes home thinking, never gonna see her again. What is it? It's just a look. I'm just looking. Oh, yeah. And then Andrea Lewis goes to visit him in the evening because he had spiritual responsibilities and works to do in the spiritual realm, but he didn't show up. And then he enters in his room and he sees that one flirtatious look, he is involved by three women who came to visit him at time of sleep in the spiritual realm to seduce him. So it's how sometimes marriages are destroyed. People say, oh, but I didn't physically cheat. But the one look connects us with legion of spirits. So then It's so hard to have the one-on-one interaction because we're not by ourselves, friends. We have groups of spirits. Yes, we have groups of spirits helping us, but because of our choices, our words, our action, our thoughts, we connect with groups of spirits. This is all bad news? No, because the same way that this works for consequences that change our lives, for for the wrong, it also helps us change our lives to the good. Remember Paul Tarsus? Saul Tarsus. He was there. He was persecuting Christians. He was making all the decisions that was hurting others and hurting himself because he, at the end of the day, lost what he loved the most, which was his fiancée. And then in an encounter with Jesus in the road to Damascus, he make the one choice. So how does it start? Mentor Joseph through Vanessa brought this analogy that we're gonna share with all of us because it's it makes it so clear for us. Imagine a line with dotted line, right? We're there, like Paul Tarsus, making our decisions. That's us in our daily lives. One day, for one reason or another, can be that one drink, can be that one word, that one action, for the bad or for the good, depending on what we choose. And then the tiny little point, you see, is that so small. Like, oh, she's a tiny point. That's gonna do it. Right? Livia knows what happens. It changes the courses of our lives. Look, let's show it again. One tiny little point change the courses of our lives. If we want to change our lives, it's not the big things. It's in the very small things. Why? Because it's a law of action and reaction. For every action, for every word, for every thought, for every feeling, positive or negative, is going to return to us. It's a law of the universe. We cannot go against it. That's why spiritism is so beautiful. It doesn't prohibit anything. It doesn't say, don't drink, don't use drugs, don't cheat. But it says, our choices have consequences. So now we know. Now we know what alcohol does to our bodies, to our society, to our spiritual bodies. And then we have a choice. And it's up to us. Who is going to bear that choice? Neighbor, the mom, the dad, the spouse? No, we're going to be because it's on us. It's our lives. And we have the choice in our lives to change. But we have the choice to make the good choice in our lives and say, enough is enough. Today I'm gonna be more understanding instead of quickly snapping to that person. Or at work, sometimes the boss comes and is so harsh, and we're like, we might not say anything, but through our actions, we give them, we say, oh yeah, you know what, you gonna get back to you. We might not say, we might not confront them, but through our words, our action, our works, and then we say, you know what, let us stop, let us think. I know what they don't know. I know that we're not alone. I know that the atmosphere of our planet is so heavy right now. I don't know what is happening in their lives. Maybe their spouse lost their work. Maybe their children has an addiction. Maybe they're suffering violence in the home. I don't know what's going on in their life, so I'm gonna give them a break. He asked me to do that. Yes, I don't agree, but I will fulfill my duty. I will be a good employee today. Go, that's all we need. And then our lives change because we know, not because we're better than others, but because this teaching brings us the responsibility to look at life different. So we go through our lives and we know we have many choices to make. And then we might say, but Daisy, how do I know? How can we make good choices? Good news for us, friends. There are resources, there are help. In this book, one of them we're going to bring today, okay? There are many. Okay, do we have this book at home? Yeah, good. Do we consult it when we need to make a decision? Did we know? Let's go there. Chapter 28 at the end of the book, towards the last chapter, is a chapter about prayers, collection of spirits' prayers. Did we consult this book? Oh, yes, there's a collection. There are prayers, there are so many of them. We can cite so many. There are prayers for us, for the angels. There are prayers for evil spirits. There are prayers that we can pray when people are discarnating. And there is a prayer to ask for counsel in the moments of decision. Oh, thank you so much, Kardec, for bringing the high spirits. Yes, and it's so beautiful, dear friends. That is a prayer for us when we need to make to be only a big decision. Oh, should I get married or not? Should I buy a house or not? Should I switch my jobs or not? Should I have a child? That doesn't need to be big. It can be a small decision. How do we know? Okay, they bring us the recipe. Think good. They say there are three questions we can ask ourselves. It's here. We're going to summarize, but go there and read it. He says, can this one thing I am hesitant to do cause harm to someone else? Okay, great question. Okay, let us say, oh, I'm debating if I accept that job offer. Okay, can that one thing harm someone else? Is it just gonna affect myself? Okay, it's just gonna affect myself. We put it in the way. Oh, but I have a family. Okay. Oh, I'm gonna be making more money. Ah, am I gonna be able to help more my family? But this job is gonna require me to travel, to be away from home. This job is gonna require me to work extra hours. So then I'm making more money, but I'm not gonna see my children. I'm not gonna spend time with my family. How is this gonna harm them? Is money more important than the time that I dedicated to my children? Can I live in a smaller home and a simple home and don't need the extra money, but be able to spend more time with my family? See, these are the questions that we need to ask ourselves. Because we think only about it's gonna affect just me. No, it affects everyone. Well, would this be useful to someone else? This decision that I'm gonna make? Is it gonna help someone else in a way? It's just gonna help myself? Oh, I wanna move to another country. Okay. Are we thinking only about ourselves? We're thinking about others. Would this benefit only ourselves? Because we wanna do what we wanna do, but how about others? See, we can use this in so many scenarios. Or this is the great one. If someone else were to do that to us, would I be happy? There, dear friends. Spirits through Kardec says, we then ask those questions and balance it out. The advantage and disadvantage to us and the consequence to others. And how would I feel if someone did that to me? How would I feel as the times we're living? People at work come and say, you can keep your job. Oh, I need a job. I need to feed my family. I need to pay the bills. But, you know, you go there in the system and you get me that information. No one is going to know. You give me that information. No one's going to know. And you stay there. You're going to keep your job. Is that, do we think that information first is only affecting me? Oh, no one's going to know. No. God knows first and foremost about everything. Our conscience knows. People, quote unquote, might know, but God knows, our conscience knows. And that might change lives of many. So are we going to be coherent from beginning to end? Or are we going to be thinking only of ourselves? So friends, to God, we have a guide. We have a north. If we don't know what to do, we have Jesus. We have Jesus to help us. Jesus said, do to others what you like to receive. So in those small choices in our lives, do we talk to Jesus? Do we remember we have a guardian angel 24/7? They are there. So let us communicate with them. Let us use those resources. And then after those questions in the gospel, there is a prayer that we can make so that the high spirits help us make what seems such a small decision, but can change the course of our lives. So let us reflect this week. We make choices every day, many choices, from the moment we wake up to the moment we go to sleep. We continue making choices right when we're asleep because our spirit's still in the spiritual realm. So, if we want to be happy, we want to be happy, right? We want to succeed in this life. We want to do different. We've been coming from many lives where that small choices affect us, others, and we're here today still trying to make amends with people and with ourselves. This life, we know, make conscious choices, not what society shows us, not, oh, but this is accepted in our society. Is it accepted in the laws of God? Because it doesn't matter. The laws of society change, but there is a law that never changes, the law of God. So if we want to make the right choices, it's not what society says. It's not even what people says, but what our conscience says and what God says. So Jesus is with us every step of the way. If we hold his hand and his trust and we hear his counsels, remember, we need to be open to hear through prayer, through make good choices every day. We're gonna to a point where we get to Jesus level that he was so in synchronicity with God that people thought that he was God because his choices, he was so aligned. We will get there. That's the good news. But it all starts today with the small choices in our lives. Okay? So let us then prepare ourselves to the next step. Okay, dear friends?
So let us all prepare ourselves to receive the energy medicine that the loving and kind spirits have brought to us. Visualizing the field of lavender flowers, the cold rays of healing light enveloping all of us. Let us visualize Master Jesus with us. Thank God we have Jesus with us. He's the doctor of all souls, of everyone. Let us open ourselves to receive the loving care that comes from his healing heart.
Listen to do. Now hold my hand. Yes. Fine.
Let us all visualize Master Jesus' face, his loving heart, full of peace, enveloping all of us in his encouragement for peace and harmony.
Would you like to stand at the end? Now, seguinte, gente, vem por assim, nós temos 1, 2, 3, things. Vem com essa, vem, vou dar uma que só fazer. My name is. Que você vai dar ponto foto.
Sim,
Is
chakras in não sejam frutos. Let us all help one another by visualizing the loving and kind doctors who work with Master Jesus and Mother Mary, who like to help our families all of us. They love us dearly, unconditionally. Let us feel their presence, bringing to us the energy medicine that we need for the mind and the bodies. All right, let us then visualize our best friend, Master Jesus, who knows us so dearly. His pure, loving light radiates from his heart, enveloping all of us, strengthening our minds and our bodies to fulfill God's will on earth. Let us visualize that his light is making us stronger and ever more protected. Visualize Master Jesus, who is our best friend, and feel his calming presence bringing to us stability for the mind, calmness in the body. Let us all visualize our schools being visited by Master Jesus and his team, blessing the teachers, our classmates, the administrators, all the families. Let us visualize security and much learning in peace, in joy, and calm. So let us prepare for the prayer, dear friends. Let us visualize our homes, them, like a protection. We need you so much, dear God. For lives we have bargained with you, thinking that by giving you something, offers, favors, you would return in some other way. Silly of us to think that you are our servant. Finally, we understand that we exist because of you. And we are here because you want us to be here. May then we finally understand your loving will in our daily lives. May we accept your proposal to love the people whom you have offered to us, our family, our friends, the people at work, in our schools, in our neighborhoods, in our cities, states, and countries. May we pray especially now, once again, for our nation that has done so much for the world over the hundreds of years, bringing good news of true freedom, understanding, friendship, progress. May we always be reminded of our beautiful role in the world to create collaboration with everyone, bringing progress to the world. Bridges of friendship everywhere, dear Lord. Thank you for being part of this nation and for allowing us to cooperate in the design, in the fulfillment of your design. May we go home safely. May our means of transportation be enveloped in your protection. And may during the week we make wise, small decisions, knowing that they will fructify in harmony, love, and peace. We love you, God. Thank you. And so moved. I have something for you guys. You want to praise you? Your prayers are answered.